Hey, thanks for checking out the Future Fox podcast. Today's guest is Henry Miniter. He's a lawyer. We had a great conversation about the justice system, how he started off as a cop and how that's helped him as a lawyer. Just a really really great guy and a wealth of knowledge about the justice system and law, personal injury. He does some personal injury stuff. So, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you get podcast episodes and enjoy this episode. All right. Well, Henry Miniter, Esquire. Not a lot of people use the Esquire. I like it though.
I don't use it commonly, but I include it in my business so it identifies what kind of business it is.
Yeah, people know right off the bat.
Yeah, I was pausing like that. Yeah, that's me, I guess. Yeah. So I know I don't commonly use it, but I think it's communicates something.
Yeah, I like it. No, I had to, when you said it the first time we met in that BNI group, I was like Esquire. I was like, what does that mean? I was like, I think that's a lawyer, but I'm not sure. I had to like Google it really fast. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I meant. So that's what I thought it meant. So why don't you give us your elevator pitch on what you do and what type of clients you serve and what kind of cases you take on?
Elevator pitch.
Yeah, it can be as long as you want. So
I right wrongs. Okay, so in medicine, right, doctors are about life and death and healing, right? In law, in my area of law, it's really about moral issues. It's about right and wrong. So I've done a lot of different things in the law, but it all comes back to a moral question. I was a prosecutor for a while, and in those sort of cases, the moral question is obvious, right? Mm-hmm. You don't do a robbery, sex assault, murder, right?
Yeah, we have laws.
Yeah, but in the civil arena, it's a little more amorphous than that, but still, you don't drive drunk and hit somebody.
Sure.
You know, I don't want to phrase it in second person because it seems like I'm talking to you.
No, you're fine.
So, it's not right to not obey traffic laws. It's not right to ignore the rules of your profession, let's say as a doctor, and not pay attention to a patient when they may have a very serious life-threatening issue, or to not do a surgery in a particular way.
Everyone needs accountability, right?
Yeah, it's not okay for an insurance company to be deceptive. There's a law in Colorado called the Deceptive Claims Practices Act, which tells insurance companies what they cannot do in claims adjusting. So all of these cases come back to a moral issue of right and wrong. And what I think about is, sort of what did my grandmother teach me? Is that right or is that wrong? If it's wrong, it's probably wrong in the civil arena.
Okay. Oh, so that's like sort of your barometer is like,
yes.
What would grandmother think?
Yes. You shouldn't drive distracted in a school zone and hit a kid, right? Obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So with the civil arena, so you have the criminal arena, some bodies of law divided into public law, private law. Public law would be the government takes an action against somebody. Mm-hmm. Typically, it's criminal. It could be an SEC violation. It could be a violation of a federal regulation.
Right.
Then there's private law. It's the law between individuals. If you do, outside of the boundaries of a contract, if you do something wrong to me, that's called a tort.
Yeah.
It's a non-contractual wrong by legal definition. That's what I do.
Okay.
I try to right wrongs, and it could be a car accident, but it could be a doctor who didn't listen to his or her patient, and they actually had a spinal epidural abscess that's going to crush your spinal cord in 3 days.
Yeah.
And those are real cases. Or a doctor who didn't pay attention to the fetal monitoring strip during birth. Kid doesn't have oxygen.
Oh, wow.
And so therefore the kid is born with an IQ of 50.
Whew.
And they, would have obviously been a functioning human, and now they're not.
Yeah.
So many times when I talk to different groups, I try to warn people of I am the purveyor of dark stories. All of my cases start with horror.
That's worse than like a psychiatrist, or a psychologist or counselor who has to deal with this all day. I feel like in a lot of ways that's really tough.
Yeah, a lot of my cases start with horror.
Do you have a hard time separating that from your personal life?
It's what I have fly fishing for.
Okay.
And my family and the mountains and nature.
You've been doing this for how many years now?
As a lawyer, 21 years.
Okay.
Before that, I served about 10 years in law enforcement.
Okay. Cool.
So
Doing what?
I started off as a Vermont state trooper,
Okay. Nice.
and it's a great place to learn how to do what I do now.
Okay. I
You
bet.
have,
Yeah.
you have full autonomy, and it's a criminal police force. I say that because out here, we're in Colorado, obviously, the state troopers are primarily traffic as a matter of law.
Oh, really?
It's traffic, accidents. There was some massacre a long time ago where the state then passed a law where the CSP, they're limited in jurisdiction to those sort of issues, and they're very good at it.
Oh, okay.
But back east, it's more traditional criminal work, I
Okay.
would say. So collection of small towns in Vermont, none of them have police departments.
Okay.
State police, there's a county sheriff. They don't really do patrol work. They do the jail courts.
Okay.
So the state police, statewide jurisdiction. So you're put through training and then cut loose, and you could do anything from a fatal motor vehicle accident, working informant in a drug case, doing a search warrant,
Whoa.
white
So it's
collar,
kind of different every day then.
different every day.
Different every day and unique. Yeah. That's probably difficult to, to try to remember the processes and the correct steps and the rules and the laws with that much variety.
Yeah, it was. It really set up the rest of my professional
Yeah, I was going to
life,
ask, did
I'd
you
say.
notice that you sort of had a mind for it and ability to kind of remember that stuff and
Yeah.
retain it?
I was like a pre-law undergrad major. Wanted to do something a little different, little adventurous before going to law school. And
Okay. So
It
even in
was-
college, you knew you wanted to go to law school, but you went into the law enforcement.
yeah, and I was honestly too poor. I couldn't imagine continuing to be a student for
Okay, yeah.
longer. And
Yeah, I think we all experienced that when we were students.
yeah,
You get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm just tired of being poor. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So there's this moment I think about when I was a state trooper. I get called to this accident, and I roll lights and siren. It's mid-August. I think it was 1994, 95. It's a beautiful summer day. Everything's green. It's up on this back road. It's a dirt road.
Okay.
And I roll up on this scene, and there's a dead girl in the middle of the road.
Wow. Young?
I know the exact age, but to preserve confidentiality for people, I'm just going to say, let's say mid-teens.
Sure.
And it shocked me. I hadn't seen anything like that before. I was fresh out of training. I was probably 23 years old.
Wow.
And what rushed through my head is, why are you here, Henry? What can you do? She's gone. The paramedics hadn't given up on her yet. They're working on her. But she was gone.
Yeah.
She was gone. And I didn't have any tools on my gun belt to help with this.
Sure. Yeah.
And then came right on top of me the answer. Henry, you're here to investigate, to nail down the facts, to apply the law.
Okay.
Why? Justice. So
Yeah.
it doesn't happen again. So the family has answers,
Yeah.
and so there's some sort of closure.
Yeah.
And if there's-
Closure is important in that time. I think anyone who goes through grief needs that.
Families want to know what happened.
Yeah.
And unless I'm there to figure that out, to document the scene, do the photographs, sketch everything out, do the interviews, figure it out, they're not going to know.
Yeah.
So from that date forward, that's really what I do even as a lawyer. I develop the facts. I do what I need to do to investigate it, whether it's subpoena documents, interview people, develop a relationship with somebody
Yeah.
who will tell me things. Then I apply the law. And as a lawyer now, I can go all the way. I can take it to trial. I can go to the Colorado Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I'm licensed in 2 states, and I've done work in about 10 states.
Okay.
I can follow the facts where they go. So that was sort of my moment in, what am I going to do with my life?
So, you said you knew you wanted to go to law school when you were an undergrad, though. 'Cause
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, when did you decide that you wanted to be a lawyer? You must have been very young.
I have a memory of that, and I can come up with the date. I think January 20th. Let me do some quick math here. 1976.
Oh wow. Okay. You have a date on it. That's crazy.
Well,
What happened?
I was a kid in the backyard. It was wintertime, and my father and I had to dig this drain called the French drain to drain our the basement. It was getting flooded.
Okay.
And he asked me what I wanted to be. And I remember the day because it's the day my youngest brother came home from the hospital from being born.
Oh
That's
wow.
why I can pick the day out.
Okay.
I gave him some answer. I think it was seven, and I guess he was satisfied with it because it was an amorphous answer.
Uh huh.
having to do with right and wrong and justice. And then we just kind of moved on. That was the first time I remember thinking, that's what I want to do.
Okay. That sort of planted a seed, huh?
Yeah.
And then was it ever affirmed like throughout your childhood, or did you know any lawyers growing up?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
My father dropped out of high school, joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
No, I didn't. We didn't know any professionals. Not really.
Okay. That's
And
interesting.
I don't know the roots of it. That's the first memory of it.
So then in high school, you kind of knew you wanted to do something in law?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Where'd you go to college? Where'd you go to undergrad?
To me, it was my Hogwarts. It was Norwich University Military College in Vermont.
Okay.
It's a small private school that's an odd hybrid. Picture like a New England liberal arts college, something
Yep.
like Middlebury or Bennington College.
Sure.
And then take West Point and put those two things together.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So the dean of West Point left West Point in, I think, 1819. You got to learn your school's history, right?
Yeah.
Started Norwich.
Okay.
So I think it was the founding place of ROTC. If not, it's close to it.
Yeah.
So it has both these worlds.
Was it male only at the time?
In 1819.
But when you were there?
No.
Okay.
That switched somewhere in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
But it's small liberal arts college. So incoming classes are 350, 400 people.
Yeah. I went to a very small liberal arts private school as well. So, yeah, I think we had about 1,200 students. So, there were about 400 students per class.
Yeah.
Freshman year was freshmen were always bigger. It was maybe 500 or 600, but then it dwindled down, maybe 200, 300 by the time they graduated every year.
Exactly my
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a freshman platoon was 34, I want to say, and 9 graduated, 7 on time.
Okay. Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay. And then, so what did you get a degree in? Was it just pre-law? Was it?
Their pre-law program is criminal justice.
Okay.
So it's criminal justice and history.
Okay. What's crazy is you just reminded me. I actually have I have a degree in psychology. My minor was actually in criminal justice.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I wanted to do something in criminal justice, I think, for a while. And then I got to my senior year and was really done with school and just needed to get out. So,
Yeah.
and then I went and I worked for a nonprofit right after school and went a different route. But yeah, I have a criminal justice. I think I wanted to do the same thing. I did a ride along with a sheriff's deputy when I was in college.
Oh, neat.
And I thought maybe that's what I wanted to do. And he said something. He was like, "Hey, I need you to stay in the car on this call." We went out on a call, and it was like it was out in the country. It was like, he's a sheriff. And we drove like 30, 40 minutes, a dirt road, you know what I mean? To this like out in the middle of nowhere. And he goes, "You got to stay in the car. It's a domestic violence call. And on these, you never know what you're walking into. I may get to the front door and the guy has a shotgun pointed at me. He's like, you don't know. So I just stay here."
Yeah.
And I was like, that was like such an eye-opening moment for me.
true.
And I was like, yeah, I don't think I ever want anyone to point a shotgun at me. That doesn't seem like what I want to do from the rest of my life. So I should probably think about a different route.
Life choices. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's scary.
It's an intense job doing the patrol work.
So you said after you graduated law school, you were a prosecutor. Is that in New York?
It's a little. I took a detour before that. So I went to law school out here. I
Okay.
went back east. I was afraid of being.
Oh, you went to law school here.
Yeah.
Okay.
DU.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I was afraid of being pigeonholed into criminal forever. So
Because of your background?
yes.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you've done 10 years in law enforcement,
Yeah.
you become a prosecutor.
Yeah. It just makes sense.
It's that's a hurdle then to overcome. So I went directly into civil litigation. I did medical malpractice.
Okay.
From defense side, I defended doctors in hospitals in New York. Excellent job. I was exposed to all different kinds of crazy cases, necrotizing fasciitis, which is the flesh-eating virus.
Oh, yeah.
Anesthesia-assisted rapid detoxification. This doctor had this idea to detox people from drugs by putting them under anesthesia.
Okay.
He killed somebody doing that.
Oh, wow.
Wrongful life, which is, well, it's when somebody conceives a child when they're told by a doctor that they can't,
Oh, okay.
instead of wrongful death.
You can get sued for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or- so just like odd cases.
Yeah.
But then also we saw, common fact patterns too. If you had to diagnose cancer, they didn't see it in radiology, something
Gotcha.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and a few cases.
But you were on the defense side, you said.
That's where I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you working for a bigger firm or was it smaller?
Yeah, it was what they call in my business a captive law firm. So
Okay.
there's professional liability insurance companies that insure doctors.
I see. Yeah.
And then if they're big enough, which this one was, they have their own law firm.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
as cases come up, they assign their own lawyers.
Okay. Because they know cases are going to come. So, yeah, it's just the nature.
You insure enough people. You know,
Yeah.
if State Farm insures 1 million drivers, there's going to be X number of
Yeah.
collisions. That's just the way that it works. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we would defend those doctors.
So then what motivated you to start your own firm, move back west?
So I could do cases the way I want to do them.
Okay. Just
So
wanted
that-
more control
Well,
and to choose your cases?
yes,
Okay.
and so that time doesn't matter in regards to how a boss would look at the bottom line. So if you're on defense side, you're billing time. You
Yeah.
got to justify every minute, every day,
Yeah.
and you're judged by the number at the end of the month.
Okay.
Not the quality, mind you.
Right.
You
Yeah,
want-
yeah,
you
yeah.
hit a
It's just
certain-
the minutes
You'll
logged.
hit a certain standard, of course,
Yeah.
but so in certain things are recoverable in the billing arena, and certain things are not. And it's a reality. If you want to spend a certain amount of time on a thing, you're capped at how much time you can spend on it.
Yeah.
Plaintiff side might have an opposite problem of like volume. They want you to do X number of cases at a time,
Keep moving. Keep things moving.
which I'm more about quality than either one of those things.
Okay.
I want to connect with people. I want to listen to them, and I want to do cases the right way. If the evidence takes me somewhere where I'm going to spend 100 hours researching a single thing, I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And
You didn't feel like you had that freedom, though, working for someone
did
else.
not.
Yeah.
yeah, there's an economic reality to both of those models
Yeah.
where you can't. But when you're the boss, who's going to tell me no?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right.
Right. So, and I can spend time on the phone with people and just help them and not worry about, having to make a profit,
Sure.
those sort of things.
Yeah. So you get to run your business your firm exactly how you want to run it.
Yeah. Quality, not quantity. Connect with people, do the right thing by them.
So what year did you start your firm?
Technically 2021. I worked in various law firms over the past, let's say, 2 decades.
Okay. So you just like 4 years ago decided to branch out on your own.
It was time. It's probably overdue.
Okay.
And
Was it scary?
of course,
Yeah.
it's like jumping off a cliff,
Yeah.
especially in my business where you may work on a case for a couple of years with no return.
Yeah.
And no idea if it's ever going to be a return on it. So, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty to it, and quite frankly, I'm not that interested in the business end of things as much as I am justice and doing the work.
Yeah.
So I think I just put it off until it just became obvious there's no other way to do the work I want to do, unless I take control of that.
So now that you have your own firm and when you started, how did you start getting clients? What approach did you have to getting your first clients?
Well, I had a few clients that came with me.
Okay.
I've been a lawyer now for getting old, 21 years, maybe 22, something like that. So I know lots of folks.
Yeah.
And so people send me work. So I'd say referral is, the primary source of business.
Okay. And are you always looking for new clients? How do you decide what cases to take and which ones to pass on besides, grandmother's barometer?
Well, yeah, there has to be a wrong.
Okay.
Then there has to be something I can do about it.
Okay. Does it have to be in a certain field that you're looking at, or?
I do a lot of medical malpractice, and I'm known for that because I started in it, and it's a sort of an insular, complex specialty.
Okay.
You need to know what the standard of care is in cardiology, in internal medicine,
Gotcha.
in oncology.
And if you have that base knowledge already, you can skip to the 10th step.
Yeah, and you know how to do the medical research
Okay.
to figure it out. If you don't know the standard of care, when a patient presents with the risk factors of stroke, what the NIH stroke scale is, what the signs and symptoms of stroke are, what the physical examination should look like, when TPA, which is the clot-busting medication, should be used, there's a 3.5 to 5 hour window, when they can do a thrombectomy, who can do it, where they should go,
Oh, wow.
and then what can happen if they don't do it correctly.
Right.
Death and severe brain injury. Stroke is there's two kinds of stroke, embolic and hemorrhagic, but embolic is blocking an artery to a part of the brain.
Okay.
So everything downstream from that blockage is going to die.
Right.
And then liquefy eventually.
Wow.
So it's going to take out part of your brain. It might be the motor part, it might be speech, it might be the part that keeps you alive.
Yeah.
So there's certain protocols they have to follow to save somebody's brain. And you have to, if you want to do medical malpractice, you have to sort of a general knowledge of
Yeah.
birth, stroke, cancer, general surgery, etc.
Do you feel like you should almost have your MD at this point as well, with how many hours you've logged researching this?
I've studied a lot of medicine. I've
Yeah.
employed a lot of experts. I have a lot of information. I'm definitely not an MD, but yeah. And so I have that specialty, but I've also worked for insurance companies and named them in civil action. So I know a lot about how they operate. There's a cause of action called bad faith. It's when an insurance company doesn't act. They're wrong. Put it that way. Go back to the basics,
Yeah.
right? They're doing something wrong. They have a duty to act in good faith. It's a matter of law. If they don't follow that, they're acting in bad faith. And that's a bad faith action. There's statutes in common law that applies to that.
Okay.
So I do medical malpractice, bad faith, general liability, which tends to be a lot of auto accidents.
Yeah.
Which from my background as a prosecutor, a state trooper, police detective, I've been around that stuff a lot. I'm very adept. And then I have the medical end at car accidents. And
It sounds like your decision to go from law enforcement and not go straight into criminal law, but do, medical malpractice has really helped you be, just have like vast knowledge, because now you have both and you can operate in both arenas.
yes.
Yeah. Seems like, are you proud of that decision? That seems like a really smart decision.
Well, I think I set out to sort of have an adventurous life and to satisfy my own curiosities.
Okay.
So it's why I've practiced law in different states, done different causes of action, criminal, civil, defense, plaintiff, appellate, straight litigation, trial work. But it turns out it puts together a pretty nice, helpful set of skills.
Yeah.
So
what do you feel like sets because personal injury, malpractice, those types of lawyers can get a bad rap, right? I mean, with Breaking Bad and
absolutely.
And we see the posters and the commercials, and they can kind of get a little slimy if you're pushing the envelope too much, I feel like. So what keeps you from going that route, and what sets your firm apart from those?
I'd say a good moral compass. I don't have a high overhead I have to meet. I don't have to do any case at all.
Okay.
I can just say no.
Yeah.
And if I don't believe in a case,
do you have employees right now? People working with you?
I have a paralegal as a contract paralegal.
Okay.
And I have relationships with other firms if I would feel the need to,
expand.
Get help. Have a team on a case.
Okay.
Have different resources on a case. Have a lawyer who's in a different state on a case.
Gotcha.
So I have a lot of colleagues, in the business.
You can sort of assemble the Avengers if you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that note of, I don't like the term personal injury because it does carry everything you say with it. It does. And Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, right? It's true. But it's also true, people don't realize it's true on both sides of the aisle.
Right.
There are frivolous cases. There's no doubt about it. There are frivolous defenses where they just concocted a defense.
Yep.
And it's an absolute fabrication.
Right.
So it goes both ways.
Yep.
Just as most doctors, they're amazing, but there's bad doctors, right? I was a police officer. There's bad police officers. There's good police officers. So I've been around enough. I know that it's not so simple as all X are bad.
And this is a great tool to weed those out.
Yeah.
Right? Like we need to get them out. We need to get bad doctors, bad police officers. Like we need to get them out of the system and into a different, either in prison or whatever is just, right. And so what you do is a great tool for that, for weeding them out.
Yes.
If we didn't have this tool, we might not be able to get them out, right?
Yes.
There was no repercussions for their actions.
Yeah, and it makes me think of a quote. Was it Alexander Solzhenitsyn that said, "What the line between good and evil runs down the center of every human heart." We all have good and evil inside of us, right?
Sure.
And hopefully the justice system brings out the good in people.
Yeah. What is your view of the justice system? Do you feel like it works?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It has its flaws.
Sure.
It has its flaws. There are righteous cases that you cannot bring. And people don't realize this. It's
just not the evidence, or for various reasons.
Well, this sounds harsh, but it's the truth. Let's talk about the truth. The caps sometimes keep good cases from being brought because the economics don't work. An example in Colorado is a birth injury case. Let's say, it's completely hypothetical, a doctor is negligent in the birth and kills the baby. There's a cap in Colorado on non-economic damages. It was $300,000 and just went up. It's going up incrementally to $415,000.
Okay.
There's economics to that case. As a matter of law, you need experts. You need birth experts.
Yeah.
OBs, maybe experts in fetal monitoring, maybe neonatologists. So it's going to cost you $300, $400, $500. I know of a case where somebody spent $750,000 to litigate the case.
Wow.
If it's going to cost,
Knowing they were only going to get 300.
if it's going to cost $500,000 to litigate a case, this is a harsh reality that I hate talking about, but it's the truth. Nobody's going to take a case in Colorado where a doctor killed a baby negligently.
Okay.
They're just
The economics doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't work. There's a Texas case, well known, Dr. Death podcast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was a movie. Alec Baldwin, I want to say,
Okay.
was in it. True story. Is a monster neurosurgeon, killed a bunch of people, maimed a bunch of other people. The civil justice system couldn't touch him. Why? Texas has lower caps than Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Economics never made sense to go touch that guy.
Wow.
What had to happen? The criminal justice had to reach in, grab him, and put him in prison to stop him from killing people.
Okay.
So the civil system can work, but it depends on how you want to manage the system.
So do you believe in caps then?
I think it should be up to a jury.
Okay.
I think it should be up to a jury. I understand the rationale behind them,
Okay.
but
So it should be on a case-by-case basis, and the jury should decide.
absolutely. We have to trust our citizens to listen to the evidence
Yeah.
and to render a fair verdict. I think caps are anti-constitutional because it controls the power of a jury,
Right.
and it's the U.S. Constitution, the Seventh Amendment, that gives us the right to a jury trial. So I think state caps are unconstitutional.
Interesting. I did not even realize that there were caps.
Most people don't. They don't live in my world.
Who sets the cap?
In this state, it's the state legislature.
Okay, so at least it's voted representatives then?
Yeah, it's and there's big money in lobbying.
Sure.
Right. So
Yeah, I imagine. I can't even imagine where the economic incentives would lie to have a cap, you know?
Yeah, insurance companies, hospitals, doctors, they have a lot more money than the individuals.
Yeah.
And the individuals don't even know.
Right.
In your classic
I didn't
example,
know.
right?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Citizens don't know. They don't know until they get hit
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
these caps are.
I wouldn't.
I've sat across some table from new parents who just lost a baby to absolute negligence. The autopsy report shows it. And I have to tell them I can't do their case. Now here's the
So is there no justice then at all?
well, here's the flip of that. It's a bit arbitrary. Same situation, only the baby does not die. The baby takes a brain injury, right? So now the baby has an IQ of, let's say, 50. And that kid's going to be alive for 75, 85 years and need care
Yeah.
because you can't live on your own with that IQ. You
Yeah.
can't, right? So then they're going to need a CNA with them 24 hours a day. That costs money. That's an economic, not a non-economic harm.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't fall under the non-economic cap.
Okay.
So you can do that case.
Okay.
So, but think about the outcome there.
That's
You get a pass for killing a baby,
right.
but if you brain injure him, you're going to face a civil action.
Where's the
justice?
and where's the incentives for doctors, right?
The incentive would be to let him go. Encourage people to let the baby go.
Yeah.
Scary.
That is sad. Yeah.
There are scary, I've been inside the justice system for a long time. So
Yeah.
I know there's problems, but I still think we have the best system.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can have the best system and it can still be flawed, right? Both can be true. Like it can be it can be good, but it can be very imperfect and need lots of work and reform.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any plans you think you'll do this for the rest of your career, or is there anything else that you wanted to pursue?
This is my calling.
Okay.
It's going to be a fundamental part of my life as long as I am able to do it. I don't plan to retire from this.
How many cases can you handle at a time? I mean,
Depends on the size of the case.
Yeah.
Typical lawyer answer, right?
right. Yeah.
But,
Thanks for nothing.
but generally, it's 3 to 5 really big, complex cases.
Okay.
And then sort of an unlimited or 30, 40 cases that don't take a lot of time.
Okay. And then how do you decide to when and where and how you're going to work on those? Just you just reverse engineering timelines or what?
Yeah, and see where they fit in.
Okay.
And before I say once I say yes to somebody,
Yeah.
in for a penny, in for a pound, I'm all in. I'm
Okay.
taking it to the end.
And how do you filter those? Are you interviewing people, multiple interviews? Are you talking to other people, talking to experts, how involved is that process before you bring a case in?
All of those things.
Yeah.
Now,
How much time are you spending just preparing for that and deciding?
sometimes I spend an entire day on a case that I'll never do. Other times I can tell. So car accidents are easy in liability.
Yeah.
Let's say you pull a police report, there's a drunk driver around a red light and hit somebody. I know there's merit to that case, and I know there's some harm. That takes me about a minute to figure it out. Somebody comes to me and says, Henry, I had an embolic stroke and now I can't walk. Okay, I need to look at what did the doctor know and when did they know it? Was he in the, just to use the same example we've talked about before, was he in the TPA window? Could they do a thrombectomy?
Yeah.
Was it a stroke center?
How do you get that
how far
information?
medical records,
Okay.
sometimes from the patient client
What
themselves.
do you have to, what's the word? Do you subpoena them? Or,
People have a right to their medical records.
Okay.
So it's oftentimes a potential client will show up with them.
okay, they already have them.
There's also processes you can just request them.
Okay.
So medical records, and then everything you said. I might consult with an expert. I might do medical research. There might be a gnarly legal issue. Is this a cause of action in Colorado? There was a time when there was a question of whether downstream negligence was a cognizable claim in Colorado. Answer now is yes. They adopted restatement. Was it 457? Yes. And I can explain what that is if you'd like. But
yeah, give me an example. What does that mean?
So let's say I'll keep it to the law school example.
Okay.
Let's say a car runs a red light, breaks somebody's leg.
Okay.
They go to the hospital. The doctor is negligent about setting the leg, and then causes some, let's say, a nerve issue with the leg.
Okay.
The word would be tortfeasor. The initial person who ran the red light, the at-fault driver, is also responsible for the negligence
Okay.
from the doctor.
Because they wouldn't be see that doctor if they hadn't.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's exceptions to that, but that's the general rule, and that's now the rule in Colorado. But for example, if a case comes to me and it has that legal question in it, I might spend some time doing legal research, going, what's the status of downstream negligence in Colorado?
Okay.
Or is there a statute of limitations defense? Or is there?
Right.
There's an endless amount of potential legal issues. Can I get personal jurisdiction over somebody? So
You're just ruling out all the reasons why this wouldn't work. And then when you get down and you go, okay, I don't have any more excuses why I can't take this case.
Yeah, I've never thought about it
Not
that
excuses,
way,
but
yes.
you're just like, hey, I'm just looking for excuses why I shouldn't take this case.
Yeah.
Starting with the moral one.
Yeah.
And then let's
Yes.
look at all the legal stuff and then make sure I have the time for it and I'm the best fit for it. And you're just ruling out excuses. And when you're left with no excuses, you're like, okay.
Yeah, and I've been on the
take it.
defense side, so I know how they look at it. And I also belong to a couple of really good bar associations.
Okay.
And if I need to find a lawyer because it's not in my lane, I know lots of good folks that I trust. So I'll say, I'm not the lawyer for you, but Mrs. Jones is.
That's very satisfying. We do similar things. Like you have a video project you need. That's not really what we do. We're not the best fit for it, but we've got people we can refer you to. So
That's the best way to operate, I think.
yeah, I think so. And it all comes back around. They'll refer us at some point,
Sure.
or not. It's okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what's like one piece of advice that you wish all of your you could give to all of your like future clients before pursuing a case? What's something that like you wish that they knew
Before the event happened or before pursuing a case?
before pursuing a case?
Take pictures.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful.
Write down names. We all carry around cameras in our pocket now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Pictures, right? 1,000 words, maybe a million words.
Has that changed the way that you're, able to do cases, having photo and video evidence now? I imagine a lot of things people are, there's a crash, people are taking their phones out and filming. You can go find that.
Cops wear body cams.
Yeah.
And sometimes you read a document and the crash is like, that doesn't seem that bad. And you see the body cam and the car is destroyed. It looks like the person's dead. Turns out they're just unconscious. Like you learn all kinds of things that don't make it to the report.
And you've seen the transition from probably having almost no photo and video other than if the cops, criminal case came out and took pictures or whatever.
Heck, in Vermont.
Coroner.
In Vermont, we had...
It was on film.
We had no computer in a car.
Oh, yeah.
We had desktops back at call them state police barracks.
Yeah, they were about as big as this room, though.
We had like a legal pad, a shotgun, a nightstick, handcuffs,
and
maybe a couple
maybe
of
some pepper spray.
Yeah, a couple of weird pieces of kit that nobody knows about.
Yeah,
the way to take air samples of breath. Like,
okay,
and that's it. And
Yeah.
it's like, go to work. A tape measure, of course.
A
Now,
tape measure for what?
oh, you have to, let's say if you're going to process an accident scene or a scene,
Oh, you
you
got
have to be
measure
able to
things.
recreate it. So you create a diagram, the gun was found
Oh my
60 feet,
gosh.
3 inches from northwest of the mailbox. And you
Okay.
triangulate it. You go mailbox, telephone pole, gun,
And you're measuring
and you
that out.
tie it in. Now they have these lasers.
Yeah, yeah.
They have software where they can go into a room and shoot the whole room and recreate it in a computer simulator.
Okay. So
So,
you've seen the evolution then.
oh yeah, it's been interesting.
That's crazy. Technology has really changed your job then.
Sort of, but it does come back to humanity.
Sure. And laws.
Bad people, everybody's good and bad, but people doing bad things,
Yeah.
that doesn't change.
Sure.
And that they want to try to cover their tracks. But the ways you can now show truths, if you will, has
Yeah.
changed. Metadata, audit trails. Yeah.
Is there any like AI use that you've implemented or are interested in doing?
I'm interested in playing with it in the future, of course, to see how helpful it is. I'm
Yeah.
suspicious of it.
Sure.
It's going to be interesting to see how the bar associations deal with it.
Yeah.
I've lately seen judges' orders that say you have to, let's say, identify any parts of a brief that weren't written by you,
Okay. Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, under the rules, and anything you sign, you're responsible for, as it should be.
Sure. Yeah.
So I am very interested in how it's going to change things, but I think things are going too fast and it's too uncertain right now
Yeah.
to make any predictions.
And I find it a very useful tool, but the fact that it's not 100% accurate means that someone it's not life or death if it tells me something wrong, right?
Yeah.
It could be life or death in your field,
Yeah.
or the difference in winning the case or losing the case, right? So
Absolutely.
it's like it could be a good tool, but you can't necessarily trust it to be 100%. So you always have to check its work, right?
Yeah, I think of it as a good filter, probably. And I've played with a couple of different AI tools. I'm usually disappointed,
Okay.
but I do think it's going in an interesting direction.
I use it all the time. It's mostly just like helping me generate creative ideas. A lot of times it just like gets the creative juices flowing.
Yes.
Or I use it in the arena of things I don't know to educate myself quickly on.
Yeah.
Running Google ads. I'm like, hey, tell me best practices for Google ads. And then I'm in the Google ad and I don't know exactly what this means. I'm like, hey, I'm running this and I'm on this page and what is this? What do these words mean? What does this part of the thing mean?
Yeah.
And it can just break it down and explain it to me. We're building like a landing page for that Google ad on our website. And I'm like, hey, give me like an outline, using best practices and like, knowledge of experts. Give me an outline for that. And it, boom. So maybe not on the legal side, but on your business side, I definitely think it can help, What other than you said, like I'm interested as far as like networking. What do you do to market yourself other than networking? Do you don't feel like you need to? I guess you're at a point in your career where you know enough people and getting enough business through word of mouth that maybe don't have to do a lot of marketing.
Yeah, so I get most of my work through referrals, some business networking groups. I find helpful just to meet people, honestly, and learn from other business owners. I really appreciate.
Do you ever do speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Not a lot, but yes. In fact, later this month, I'm going to speak to a bunch of doctors about liability issues.
Okay. Cool. Do you enjoy that?
I'll let you know when I'm done. Yes and no. I enjoy the process of getting ready. I enjoy the things that it teaches me. I enjoy actually doing it. But usually on the way there, I'm like, I'd rather be home watching baseball or something.
Sure. All right. Fair enough. You're a Rockies fan or Yankees fan?
Yankees.
Yankees. Okay. Sorry.
Hey, bring on the hate. That's okay.
We got an Astros fan over here.
Uh,
And I'm pretty impartial when it comes to baseball. So I'm a Mavericks fan, but maybe not anymore. So, cool. So tell me about sort of what are some of the, I mean, it's not like you're in a good place just in your career and in your life. You got pretty good work-life balance.
what is balance?
Yeah, you know what it is.
Yeah, I know.
You can feel it. Maybe you can't define it, but you can feel it.
I'm guilty of probably working too much, but I like what I do, and I get drawn into a case.
Yep.
And I think I don't want to admit to this, but I think in January, it's 31 days. I think I worked 29. Like,
Okay.
That's not healthy, and I don't recommend it to anybody.
Sure.
So, but I do have the ability now with my own farm to work at my home.
Yeah.
To cook lunch on the grill,
Yep.
to be with my dog when I'm working. So that's a whole different level of friction than having to go into an office, respond to a higher power. That's
Sit under fluorescent lights.
sure.
Yeah.
If I want to take a break in the middle of the day, work out, or because the sun's out like it is today, take a nice walk, it just feels like less of a weight,
Yeah. I agree. Working for yourself is great.
Yeah, it's the best and worst of both worlds.
Yeah. Cool. So do you have any hurdles right now? What's maybe some of the challenges that you're facing?
Oh, every case has challenges to it. Just about every case, I would say.
As far as your business goes,
I'm always looking for good cases.
Yeah.
I could probably, if this is my paralegal, we could use more cases right now. I feel pretty like we have a lot, but she's I think wants some more work.
Yeah. What percentage of your cases actually like go to court?
What do you mean by go to court? I mean trial?
Trial. Yeah. Sorry.
A higher.
I don't know all the words, all the verbiage.
No. That can mean a couple different things. I ask because when you say go to court,
Everything goes to a
You
court.
have to file civil action, then you're in court.
Right.
But goes to trial, a higher percentage in professional liability. And for me, that mostly means medical malpractice than you'd think.
Is that because they're used to it and they already have their lawyers and they're ready for the fight?
There's a couple of reasons for it. One is caps. So defense lawyers know that there's a maximum amount.
Okay.
So they feel emboldened. They can control their risk. That's one factor. Another factor is consent. So this is a weird thing in my business that most people just don't know. If a doctor has a verdict against them or a settlement, they have to report it.
Okay.
And they have to report it to the National Practitioners Data Bank. That's
Sure.
not accessible to the public, but they have to report it to hospitals and the government and such.
Okay.
And they have to report it. The carrier knows about it. If they have hospital privileges, so before a doctor can do anything in a hospital, they have to be privileged to do certain things. They got to report it there. So they don't want to consent to settlement because they could win at trial in theory, and the insurance company's paying for the trial. So why not throw the dice?
Okay.
And then when they get in front of a jury, often the jury will give them a pass.
Okay.
Because there's this thing I'm guilty of it as anybody. We all want to have faith in this medical system. Why? Because you're going to need it. I'm going to need it. Every human's going to need it. And we need it for ourselves and our loved ones.
So we want to believe that it's
perfect,
good and just and perfect. And
yeah. And then when a jury is sitting there and they hear words flying around like embolic stroke and TPA and hemiparesis and on and on.
Negligence.
They don't speak this language. And then they probably have the bias of, injury lawyer, right? So they give a pass to the doctor. I did a jury trial here in the county we're sitting in.
Yeah.
Medical malpractice. Jury comes out. Says, Henry, you prove your case. There's not even a question. But we didn't want to ruin the doctor's career. So we gave him a pass this time.
Oh, wow.
So you can lose a case like that. You can lose a case like that. And what the jury doesn't realize, there's a cost shifting rule in Colorado. As soon as they do that, they're forcing my client to pay defense costs.
Oh, wow.
That could be $300,000.
Yeah.
And that's a recoverable debt.
Yeah.
Same as a mortgage.
Right.
So they're big stakes, and they go to trial because they can win sometimes just like that.
Yeah.
And it goes back to your question of, is our justice system flawed? Oh, yes.
Okay.
But I believe in it.
Okay.
I believe in it. But there are some problems.
Yeah, it's almost like on a on a micro level, you can see the issues, but on a macro level, it works.
Yeah, and we're blessed with it.
Yeah.
The common law system we inherited from England, our whole system, the way we have to pass laws, the way we have elected officials and there's term limits, all of that stuff. It all balances out. You can disagree with whoever's in office. You can write an editorial.
Yep.
Like these things can get crazy. But if you look through our history, there's been lots of bouts of craziness.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's not perfect, but it's in pursuit of perfection all the times, and that's what really matters. It's like there's no perfect system, but it's a great system, and it's at least its goal is to achieve perfection, which is so far away from a lot of other countries' systems, right?
Yes, and it puts the power in the hands of the people, a jury.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. Which is very unique.
It's the few systems that have had juries around the world have abandoned them or they're like advisory. The judge can say, that's very nice, but I'm going to do what I want. That can't happen here.
Yeah.
So I believe in it, like I said.
Cool. Well, it's good to know that you do. What's your plans for the rest of the year? You got any goals? Get out and fish more?
Get out and do more fly fishing.
Okay.
Time in the mountains.
Yep. Is that
Sunshine.
why you moved to Colorado?
Oh,
just the weather and the culture, outdoor culture.
Look out the window.
Yeah.
All this public land. You can just put a backpack on and go wander around.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
You have some public land back east, but we are so blessed.
Yeah.
With the weather, with all this public land, with this diversity. You can find what's essentially the tundra, right, up in the high alpine in Colorado. Yeah. You can find the desert. You can find the boreal forest.
Yep.
You can find just all kinds.
It's very green, up north. It's very brown down south. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a diversity.
And the different mountain ranges are so diverse. I mean, I'm sure you've been to the sand dunes.
Oh yeah,
that's wild that exists in the middle of Colorado.
It's crazy. Or the Black Canyon, or it blows.
Have you
me
ever been to
away.
the paint mines?
No.
Oh, that's a cool spot. It's a little further out. I mean, it's not. I mean, you'd probably enjoy it. You should go check it out. I'm not sure the best time of year to go, but it's sort of east of Colorado Springs. It's just like these clay mines, and they call them the paint mines because there's all these different layers, and they're like really bright colors and stuff.
Oh, neat.
So it's very cool. You can go out there and walk around. The one time I went, it was kind of wet, so it was like you couldn't. Well, I think it was nice the first half, and then it started to rain a little bit, so it was like everything got wet, and the clay was kind of wet, so it was a little slippery. But it was a cool spot. I want to take my kids back out there. We haven't been in probably 10 years. So,
and your kids are small, so you might have to wait a little bit, right?
I mean, it's not like hard to traverse it or anything. It's just unless it gets wet, so you just pick a dry day, I guess.
Yeah.
So, well, awesome, man. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all your time and insights. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and sort of best way for them to get a hold of you?
I guess Google me, right? And I have a website.
Sure.
Henry Miniter, I think henryminiterlaw.com. It's funny, I should know that more.
Yeah.
But
we'll put it in the show notes for you so people can just click on it if they want to find you.
Yeah, so that's probably the best way to find me.
Okay.
I'm not the best on digital marketing. Maybe I should get better. No. My idea was...
It sounds like you need it. So
yeah, it was like have a law firm that like Abraham Lincoln might recognize, absent the computer, right? Get to know people, spend time with them, tell their stories.
Yeah, I like that. It's a little old fashioned, but I'm as much as I can be. That's sort of how I like to operate as well.
Yeah, we've all had the experience of trying to call an insurance company or cell phone carrier or airline or a bank. Yep. And it's a phone tree. It's
just an endless loop of phone tree.
Then it's an AI bot.
Tried to cancel my waste management trash service.
Yeah.
And I ended up just going to Google and leaving a scathing 1-star review about how corrupt they are, as how it ended up, I think. And
then they called you?
It finally it was able to cancel it, but it took me like 2 hours, on their website. And they were just sending me on their website, just sending you on a big loop. Click here to cancel. Why are you canceling? Take you back here. You know what I mean? Just like, it's just a nightmare.
Yeah. So my goals would be the opposite of that.
I like it.
When give clients my cell phone.
Yep.
They call me, and that's it.
So if someone has a case, they can call me. Okay. Just call you. Phone number's on the website.
Go to my website.
Okay.
The office number's on my website.
And the office number just goes to your pocket?
Goes to my computer.
Okay. All right.
But I give my cell phone out once I have a client. I give my cell phone out to clients.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. The time goes by fast.
It does. Yeah. That was about 47 minutes. So.
Wow. Okay.
Good job. Thanks, man.
Thank you.